The Baridegi and the Magic Wand. A 9-paragraph. Epic paragraph 1. An abandoned child stands at the crossroads of fate. Long, long ago, in a remote village on the shores of the West Sea, there lived a wise king and a kind-hearted queen, who were respected by the people and had 7 beautiful princesses. The kingdom prospered amidst the rich land and peaceful people, but a shadow always loomed over the deep palace courtyard. Even the 8th child, who was born after a long wait, was a fragile daughter who did not have the strength of a boy. The disappointment of the king, who had desperately hoped for a son to continue the throne, was indescribable. With a cold, cold face, he gave the cruel order to place the newborn 8th princess in a small, solid jade box and then callously and coldly throw her into the rough waves of the West Sea. The queen wept bitterly over having to send her beloved daughter, who was as tender as blood, into the cold sea with her own hands, but she could not dare to go against the stubborn will of the king. Finally, in the cold darkness of dawn, the jade ship was mercilessly thrown into the rough waves by the hands of the sunken ones. The 8th princess, who would later be called by the sad but strong name of Baridegi, was thrown into the cold whirlpool of fate alone, without even being given a proper name, and began a long and difficult journey alone. For several days the oakum was tossed about by the angry waves, but fortunately it was finally washed up on a quiet beach on a remote island with few people. There lived a kind and warm old couple who had grown old without children and were spending their days lonely. One morning, when the sun was rising red over the horizon, the old man discovered a strangely shaped jade box washed ashore by the low tide. With a desperate hope, he carefully opened the tightly closed lid of the box. Inside, a small, delicate baby lay with a calm face, as if in a deep sleep. The old couple, who considered the child as a precious gift from heaven to them, gave the child the beautiful name Bari and raised him with warm care and devotion, even deeper than that of their own child. Bari grew up brighter and more courageous than other children in the boundless love of the old couple. Her heart was as clear and pure as a spring, and she had a warm and considerate heart that thought of her neighbors in trouble first. She was praised by the villagers for her clever mind and extraordinary understanding, and grew into a beautiful girl with a beautiful heart under the devoted care of the old couple. The island's green forests were her playground, and the gentle sound of the waves was her lullaby. Running around in nature helped me develop strong physical strength and a strong mentality that would not give in to any difficulties. But in a corner of her heart, there was a faint longing for her cold parents, from her distant memories, and a shadow of deep sadness at being abandoned. 2nd paragraph. The shadow of death cast. The sublime devotion. The years flew by, and when Bari grew up to be a beautiful young girl of 16, like a newly bloomed flower, a dark shadow began to fall on the peaceful island village. A terrible plague of unknown origin swept through the entire village in an instant like a curtain of night, and the innocent villagers who were healthy collapsed helplessly and groaned in deep pain. No one knew the source of this horrifying disease, and the despair of those who watched their loved ones die without warning grew deeper with each passing day. Even the warm-hearted elderly couple who cherished Bari like their own daughter and devotedly raised her with a deep love that could not be exchanged for anything in the world collapsed helplessly from a terrible, uncontrollable disease. Bari never left the side of her beloved parents who were weakening day and night, and devotedly cared for them with all her heart and soul. But no amount of precious medicine or the excellent medical skills of any famous doctor could provide even the slightest help in improving their condition. Bari's young heart, watching her beloved parents suffer with her own 2 eyes, burned with longing day after day as if it were engulfed in a hot, burning flame. In Bari's hazy mind, where tears were constantly wetting her cheeks every night amid despair and deep sorrow, a story about a legendary and mysterious medicinal spring suddenly came to mind. as if it were a dream from long ago that she had heard by chance from an old grandmother with a wrinkled face in an island village during her childhood. It is said that the mysterious medicinal water, located deep in a place where human feet cannot reach, beyond the rugged mountain ranges at the very western end, has the amazing effect of receiving the energy of the heavens and completely curing any illness. Bari spent the whole night in deep thought, desperately wanting to hold on to even the last slender ray of hope. And finally, cutting through the cold, bitter dawn air with a firm will, he made a noble decision to stake everything on it. She had no idea how long and difficult the road would be, or what unimaginable dangers and hardships awaited her. Her young heart burned with the determination to find the mysterious elixir and revive her sick, beloved parents with all her might and sincerity. Bari's tightly closed lips revealed a strong will, and her eyes, clear and intense, like the shining stars in the dawn sky, contained a firm vow not to give in to any difficulties. Third paragraph. The beginning of suffering, an unexpected helper. Having made a firm decision, Bari could no longer afford to waste a single moment. In the dim dawn just before dawn, she had only a few simple clothes and the bare minimum of food to appease her hunger. And he carefully packed only one small wooden water jug to hold the precious medicinal water for his sick parents, carefully placed it in an old bundle, and quietly left the island village he had grown fond of. Her small steps felt heavy with complex emotions, mixed with anxiety about the difficult journey ahead, and hope that she could save her parents. The rugged mountain path continued endlessly and winding, and crossing deep valleys that reached up to the ankles was a series of unpredictable dangers and extreme pain at every moment. How many days and nights have I walked and walked without any proper rest? Bari, who was barely able to catch her breath in the deep forest with her tired body, was drawn to a small, old, shabby hut by a mysterious ray of light shining softly like a firefly in the darkness. Inside the hut, with the creaking wooden door half open, sat quietly an old man with white eyebrows and a long white beard, looking divine and kind, as if he had survived all the hardships of the long years. As Bari entered the hut with careful steps and told her story in a trembling voice, the sage looked at her with deep blue eyes for a long time, silently and warmly. The immortal, deeply impressed by Bari's extreme filial piety and unwavering will to not give in to any difficulties, fell into deep silence for a moment, then slowly raised his hand and handed Bari a small, smooth, mysterious club with a faintly mystical aura. This little bat will clearly show you the depth of your pure and earnest heart. When you are faced with a life or death crisis that is too difficult to handle on your own during a difficult journey, hold this bat tightly with both hands and sincerely pray for the deepest wish hidden in your heart. However, this mysterious power will only be able to demonstrate its amazing abilities when it reaches the deepest, most sincere desires of your heart. With the warm encouragement and heartfelt words of support from the sage, Bari held the magic wand with both hands and held it deep in her arms, as if it were a treasure more precious than her own life. The warm heart and precious gift of the unexpected helper she met by chance in an unfamiliar land became a bright and warm ray of hope for her on her difficult journey filled with countless hardships ahead. Fourth paragraph. The miracle of the bat, the truth of the heart. Although Bari had the precious gift of the divine immortal in her hands, the road ahead was still arduous and full of unpredictable difficulties. On the steep and rugged mountain paths, fierce beasts with sharp claws and flashing teeth suddenly appeared out of the darkness, threatening the weak Bari. In the deep and cold valleys where it was scary to even step foot in, the path was constantly blocked by strong waters that coiled and swirled fiercely like giant blue snakes. Every moment was a life-or-death crisis that threatened her fragile life, but Bari never despaired or gave up. She held the mysterious magic wand she had received from the sage firmly in both hands and struck the wand carefully with a heart full of longing. Please protect my weak body from those fierce and scary beasts, and help me cross that rugged mountain path safely." As the bat softly emanated a mysterious blue light and made a soft sound, surprisingly, the beasts that had been threatening her with fierce growls disappeared in an instant as if it were a lie, and a strong and safe stone bridge was magically built over the deep valley where the rough water flowed, which she was afraid to even step into. But the amazing power of the mystical magic wand was never a simple tool to be used lightly. When I hit the bat for even a moment to satisfy my own selfish desires, or to think only of my own comfort and safety, strangely enough, no amazing miracle happened. Only when Bari struck the mallet with her pure and earnest heart toward her sick and beloved parents, and her burning and sincere wish to save their precious lives, did the magic mallet display its amazing and mysterious power, continuously guiding Bari's path brightly and safely throughout her difficult journey. In this way, experiencing the amazing power of the magic wand firsthand, Bari deeply engraved in her heart the precious realization that although external help is certainly important, what is far more fundamental and important is the true heart and correct use of the wand that resides deep within the wielder's heart. The magic wand was merely a mystical medium that amplified her fervent and pure wish more powerfully, but the truly amazing miracle came from Bari's own clear and pure heart. Fifth paragraph, the fountain of the water, the final test. Bari, who has bravely overcome countless rugged mountain paths, deep valleys, and all sorts of unimaginable hardships and adversities, finally arrives in a distant western country, at a spring where the mysterious medicinal water she had been searching for so desperately gushes forth. Around the well, beautiful flowers of various colors were in full bloom, and the clear, clean water flowed endlessly like a silver thread from the sky. Just the refreshing air alone gave Bari a mysterious feeling of hope and vitality, springing up in her tired body and mind for a long time. Bari closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Finally, the last hope to save my sick parents was right before my eyes. Suppressing her overwhelming emotion and joy, Bari carefully filled the small wooden water jug she had prepared with care with clear, clean medicinal water. Now, if only he could safely return home with this precious medicinal water. Bari's young heart burned with the fervent hope that she could restore her beloved parents to health. But the joy was short-lived, as the road back home was much more difficult and dangerous than expected. A group of greedy and evil people who covet the amazing effects of the mysterious medicinal water suddenly burst out of the forest, violently threatening the weak Bari and rushing to steal the precious medicinal water. Bari desperately fought back, tightly gripping the mysterious magic wand she had received from the god with both hands. But the number of villains was too great, and their attacks were fierce and cruel. Bari, who was in a desperate situation, used all his strength to hit the magic wand hard on the floor and cried out earnestly, "Oh heaven, please defeat those evil villains and help me safely return home with the elixir of life to save my ailing parents." Her voice was full of longing, and her eyes were shining earnestly with hot tears. Sixth paragraph, a fervent wish, a miracle becomes reality. As Bari's desperate cry echoed through the forest, an incredible and amazing sight became reality before her eyes. A dazzling golden light burst out as if it was exploding from the mysterious magic wand that Bari had struck with all her might, and in an instant, a fierce whirlwind howling fiercely engulfed the entire forest. Black clouds covered the blue sky in an instant, and ear-splitting thunder and lightning struck without pause, as if the heavens were angry. As if the spirits of heaven were moved by Bari's earnest and pure wish and responded, the great and irresistible power of nature swept forth terrifyingly against the greedy and evil villains. In the face of the sudden and unimaginable power of nature, the evil villains who had rushed in only to covet the effects of the mysterious medicinal water screamed in panic before the sudden and terrifying attack of nature that they could not even imagine, and they scattered in all directions like chased animals, desperately trying to escape. Their evil eyes, once filled with greed, were instantly filled with extreme fear, and their steps, which had been moving furiously to plunder, became unsteady due to extreme confusion. Bari did not miss this golden opportunity, and holding tightly in both arms the small wooden water jug containing the precious medicinal water that contained all her hopes, without a moment of hesitation, she retraced her arduous path and head back to her beloved hometown where her beloved parents were. Her steps were much lighter and more powerful than before, and her clear, firm eyes were shining brightly with an earnest belief in the hope that would finally come true. Her pure and earnest wish finally brought about an incredible miracle in reality that no one could have imagined. It was a dramatic moment that made us realize the profound truth that the great power of nature sometimes severely punishes human greed and malice, and protects those who sincerely wish with a clear and pure heart. 7th paragraph. The fruit of sincerity revived life. Bari, who had set foot on her beloved homeland again, ran without a moment's hesitation to the old thatched house where her sick parents were. The elderly couple, who had become increasingly weaker over the past few days, were still barely able to breathe in deep pain. With trembling hands, Bari carefully scooped up the medicinal water and poured it drop by drop onto her parents' dry lips. Strangely enough, as the clear, cold water flowed down their throats, a faint color began to return to the old couple's pale faces, and their hardened eyelids, which had been closed deeply, began to tremble slowly. Bari shed hot tears without ceasing and took care of her parents day and night with utmost sincerity. A few days later, as if waking up from a long winter sleep, an amazing miracle occurred. An elderly couple who had been bedridden due to a serious illness and unable to move slowly sat up. Their withered faces regained a healthy glow, and the two who had regained their lost vitality looked at each other and shed tears of emotion. Bari's extremely devoted filial piety and earnest sincerity in going to find the medicinal water, regardless of any difficulties, finally opened the tightly closed gates of death and rekindled the precious flame of life that was fading away. The townspeople witnessed this amazing sight and were deeply moved by Bari's extreme filial piety, giving her lavish praise. Her devoted love had the power to transcend even death. Paragraph 8. Enlightenment and New Beginnings. Bari, who miraculously brought back the lives of her beloved sick parents, is now a hero who receives the respect and praise of the island villagers. Her courage and filial piety moved and resonated deeply throughout the village, and her strong spirit that did not lose hope. Even in difficult adversities became an example to many. The mystical magic wand she had received from the immortal still had the power to work amazing miracles. But Bari now came to the profound realization that her own firm will, true, heart and constant effort were far more important and valuable than blindly relying on that external force. After much thought, Bari decided that it was right to return the mysterious magic wand that had helped her so much to the immortal, and once again, she crossed the rugged mountain path and quietly set out to find a small hut deep in the forest. The sage, who met again after a long time, greeted Bari with a warm smile, seeing her eyes looking much more mature and wise than before. When Bari politely handed the magic wand with both hands, the sage nodded and quietly accepted the wand. In your heart, a power stronger and more true than any magic wand has already firmly established itself. If you have that firm mind and unchanging noble spirit, no matter what difficult and arduous adversities may come your way in the future, you will be able to overcome them wisely and eventually create a bright future for yourself. Bari, who had deeply engraved the warm and sincere encouragement of the sage, no longer relied on external forces. but believed in the true strength within herself and quietly began to take firm steps toward a new and hopeful beginning. Paragraph 9. A story of filial piety that will be remembered forever. The noble and great filial piety of the kind-hearted girl Bari, who did not hesitate to go through any difficult and painful journey to revive the fading lives of her sick and beloved parents, was forever remembered as a deeply moving and unforgettable example in the hearts of the people of the small island village where she lived for a long time. The amazing power of the mysterious magic wand that she had received from the immortal was clear, but that power was only possible because of Bari's earnest and pure heart that was willing to devote everything to her, and her unwavering will that would not yield to any difficulties. This touching story gives us a deep impression and precious realization of how the true and pure heart and strong will within a human being can create miracles more than material wealth or external help. The noble filial piety of Baridegi, who sacrificed everything to save her parents, goes beyond a simple old story and becomes a beautiful legend that lives and breathes forever beside us, transcending time, and will become an eternal light that warmly and brightly illuminates the dark corners of the bleak and cold world. Her story will forever whisper to us that true value lies not in superficial glamour or material wealth, but in true love and devotion that comes from deep within the heart. Everyone, I hope today's story has warmed your heart. We will come back next time with a more touching and interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.